It is a big question in our industry about welding robots stealing welding jobs. Moving to automation, regardless of tariffs, you have to do it. It's becoming less and less of an option.
Manufacturing is evolving fast. Are you keeping up? I'm Justin Schnor, and on Manufacturing Momentum, I talk with industry leaders, innovators, and problem solvers about the tech, trends, and strategies shaping the future of manufacturing. No fluff, just real conversations to help you stay ahead. Let's get after it. Well, I appreciate you making the time and parking the car and taking a minute with us.
No problem.
I stalked you on LinkedIn, and you've had quite the career in welding. Is it true? You started actually welding, and now you're...
Well, my dad was a welder. I grew up around welding, and when I was in high school, I wanted to be an architect. My dad wanted me to go down engineering. And he was, at the time, he was one of the teachers for the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union in where we lived. So he took me into the training shop and taught me how to weld, and kind of looked at me and goes, "Do you want to do this, or do you want to be the guy that knows how this works and specs in how to do this?" So I went and decided to go visit Ohio State, where they had a welding engineering program. And that's when I found out that it's more than what my dad showed me. There's all kinds of welding: laser welding, fixture welding, friction stir welding, electron beam, and Ohio State had it all. So I was like, this is way better than architecture. This is cooler. I'm dealing with stuff that is so high tech and so hot. I was just like, everything a young kid could decide to like, this is so interesting. So I opted to go into Ohio State as a welding engineer right out of the gate. And I was one of 6 people that were in my class.
Yeah, that has to be so cool too. Just speaking from my industry, over the past 25 years, right, it has changed immensely. What are some of the coolest things you've seen over the past couple decades?
I think the use of robotics has been, when I first came out of college, robotics was the big thing. I kind of chose a path more into heavy manufacturing where robotics wasn't used as much. But sort of since I've been with Cloos, what I'm really seeing is this second renaissance of automation. A lot of big companies 25 years ago heavily invested in automation. Sort of that was the first renaissance. And now the second renaissance is coming about. And I really think it's because of 2 things. One is the post-COVID, hard to find people. In the last 20 years, we've had difficulty finding welders. Well, now it's difficulty finding people like grinders and fitters and anything in manufacturing. It's just not been there. And the other is that I think companies are starting to realize that automation is not an option anymore. It's a necessity. It's not something that's going to give you a leg up on your competition. It's going to get you on par with your competition. And now customers are wanting to push the limits on adding material handling to robotics so that it's less operator dependent. So I really see that, from today to the next probably 10 years is going to be another big push in North America to really automate. I've seen what other countries have done, and we're far behind. And the sooner the industry realizes that, and potentially the government to help offset some of that cost, it's going to be hard for the U.S. manufacturing to really be a global player like we used to be.
Yeah, and I've been reaching out to manufacturing companies all over the board. And it seems robots in many forms, welding and 3D printing has also been some of the crazier things I've seen on the manufacturing side. So you're pretty well positioned to kind of take advantage of what you believe is this next wave of industrial revolution, for lack of a better term. Do you have any big goals for Cloos North America over the next year?
We've grown tremendously in the last, say, 3 years, continuing that growth, but really the transformation of Cloos as a global company. So, we recently moved from a small office that we had for 20 years that was about 12,500 square feet. And we moved into our new headquarters that is 47,000 square feet. We're gaining the experience here in North America. We're not just a service provider. We're not just a sales group. We're a full service engineering and problem solver is really what I want Cloos to be in the future. Cloos Group has done a lot with the getting us this facility. Now it's my job to get the team together to get that experience and get going on, this next chapter of what we got going.
Very cool. Are you manufacturing any of the parts themselves here? Did I hear you say that, or just assembly?
We have like contract fabricators and machine shops that we use. Down the road, do we add that vertical into our facility? I mean, my opinion is I'd love to see welding station in our facility because we're welding people. Right now, I'd rather somebody else deal with that headache, but yeah, the idea is that we want to domestically produce as much as we can, then bring it into the Schaumburg facility and then assembly it and then go ahead and get it out to the customer. With the sort of geopolitical stuff that's going on, and I guess the other thing is that having sort of more control regionally versus from Germany is a huge benefit for the company as a whole, because now, we're leveraging, offsetting some of the capacity issues that could happen when we only produce stuff in one facility. That facility is going to get overwhelmed. Now we can spread that capacity throughout the world and be able to handle anybody's influx. So
Do you have any big obstacles currently in your way? Obviously, the tariffs could be a potential obstacle that everyone in the manufacturing industry is kind of doing a hold pattern on. But for you yourself and Cloos North America, do you have any big obstacles in your way in 2025?
I think what's going to happen politically is sort of a big question mark for everybody. At the end of the day, you know, moving to automation, regardless of tariffs, you have to do it. It's becoming less and less of an option. And honestly, with everything that's going on, and now that they've thrown in, new steel tariffs and aluminum tariffs, that, being able to produce domestically here in the U.S., something's got to give. Either the consumers are going to pay a lot more and they're just going to eat it, or we're going to have manufacturing sort of take on more and more of that domestic requirement and do it here. And to do that, we have to automate. But really, Cloos North America's issue is it's people. And that is a big surprise when I took on this role almost 3 years ago, how much I'd be involved in the human resource side about trying to figure out how to attract good talent, how to keep them here. And we've had to do quite a bit because Cloos is not known. Somebody has to, not only does customers that go with Cloos, sort of have to trust us, but our employees, that they need to trust us and then try to maintain them, because unfortunately, being in Chicago, we don't have offices all over the U.S., so we have to do a lot of traveling, and sometimes that work-family balance becomes a little bit too shifted. So we have to be very cognizant as a company that we don't overburden our people. We need to be cognizant of their work-family balance and make sure that they're getting what they want out of this relationship as well as us. So that's been sort of my surprise, is being involved in Cloos and being sort of the leader of it, is how much I have to work with the team and work with HR to try to come up with ways to attract that talent that's out there. And it's been a struggle, and we've got plans for more people this year, but it's been a very difficult thing to try to get really good people in that we know that will stay for a while.
I think that is a struggle in every industry
Yeah.
currently, right? Especially post-COVID, and everyone's kind of gotten used to this work from home mentality. So getting people both in the office or that also want to travel is a challenge.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you able to speak of any existing clients, or even generally? Have you guys gone in someplace and completely changed a client's business for the better?
I mean, Cloos was very heavy in that sort of first renaissance of automation. What we were probably more well known, if people did know about us, was big, heavy stuff. If you had a big, heavy part and you need to manipulate it and robotically weld it, you come to Cloos. So when we started 40 years ago in the U.S., it was based on John Deere and Caterpillar. One company, Case New Holland in Fargo, North Dakota, has 32 systems over a 10-year period. We didn't transform; they transformed themselves. Cloos was sort of the mechanism of which they transformed, but at the end of the day, it's the company's culture, the company's mentality, the company's future view of where they want to be. That's what's driving that. Cloos has a broad portfolio, so we can kind of help any customer where they're at in their sort of automation journey. If they're just starting it out, we can keep it very simple and we can keep it very low cost of entry. Or if you're trying to make this next leap into line automation, we can go there. And we've got a very unique position and a unique portfolio. We've got horsepower of 500 people around the world, all dealing with welding robotics. We only do welding robots, and that sort of puts us in a different realm. We have the expertise. We want to help you on your journey. We want to mentor you, especially if you're new to automation, because at the end of the day, you're buying capital equipment, but it's not a transaction, it's a relationship. If you're purchasing or you're an owner, you need to trust that company that they're going to be there with you for the long haul. And that's, kind of what we're bringing to Cloos, is that we want to be that company. We want to be your mentor, your guide along this, because it's better for the manufacturing in the US to have more people pushing those boundaries in automation, make more stuff, make it cost effective. It's the only way that we can sort of get back to where, the heyday of the US manufacturing was.
Yeah. Spoken like a true president of a company. That's very, very democratic and good job.
Come on, really?
It's great. That was a great answer. You're like, yeah, you didn't take any credit for any of the advancements. You put it all on the client.
I mean, that's really the culture of what we're trying to build at Cloos, is that it's not, we really preach what we talk about with mentorship. I spent most of my career, it's sort of teetering on half and half right now. Is half my career I was in production, so I was not in sales or in a welding OEM, and then the other half is sort of been in that sales and on the other side of the table. I call it the dark side. So I know what it's like to be on the other side of the table, to trust a company, to trust a person with lots of money, millions of dollars in some cases, that people are willing to spend with a company. So I know that you have to have it. It's just not a transaction. So the customer is the one that is driving this. The customer is the one that has that vision. We're just the instrument to help get them there. If you don't buy from us, if you bought the right system, then we've done our job.
That's exactly what I mean. You're like pushing the next US heyday of manufacturing. That's the vision that you're pushing, which is super cool to see.
I only wish I had the power to help, but I mean, I've seen it on my career. I've seen it through my dad's eyes, what manufacturing was and what it is today. And if we want to become a manufacturing player globally, the US has to change some things. It's manufacturing companies sort of deciding that this is where we want to play, and we want to be a much bigger part of the global market.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I would argue that you're well positioned to be at the forefront when it happens. It's not an if.
That's what we're hoping. Cloos North America, US, has been in the US for 40 years. We also have a Mexico office that will be celebrating 25 years this year as well. So it's kind of a unique year for us. We get a 40 and a 25 year. We have a portfolio second to none. We are an integrator of our own stuff. We make our own robots, we make our own welding power sources, we make our own wire feeders, we make our own positioning equipment. We are a unique company because we are an integrator of our own stuff. There's no finger pointing, there's one call to get something answered. We make our own software, we make our own offline software. So truly our ecosystem is a Cloos ecosystem. Our goal is to not only drive our growth, but to drive automation in general. And the nice thing, again, our portfolio has everything from I want to step in with a cobot all the way up to I need to take this part and I need to put in parts at one end and I need a finished part at the other end. And we can do everything in between. And I think that's what I wake up every morning with, that smile on my face, that I work for a company that has this. And it definitely makes it easier to talk to customers, to sell to customers, that we own everything. We have it all. So you don't have to worry about that part. And, I think that comforts customers. We have our own tooling engineer on site. We can add tooling into it. So, we can do a full system all the way to whatever customer needs. And I think that makes us very unique.
Yeah, that definitely does. Is there like one product that you feel is the most amazing thing, or like what is the coolest product that your company has welded together or taken a part of the assembly of?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, if you want big, we've got big mining dump trucks that we make the main frame, that we have, a system that does that. We do, I mean, we globally, if you'd say, have you done this in this industry? The answer is probably yes. Somewhere in the world, we've done that. It's a really cool thing that we haven't done something for space in the US. Guarantee you there's a Cloos robot welding a part for aerospace somewhere, for a spacecraft somewhere. Are we welding for shipyards? I guarantee you somewhere in the world we are. In the US, we've been more heavy manufacturing and sort of construction and mining and agriculture. But in other parts of the world, we have a whole different set of industries that, are the ones that Cloos has a big stronghold on. So my personal favorite is, any customer that's welding their very first small part with a robot, and they went from and taking this big chance and this big swing, not only with Cloos as a company, but with automation in general. They just got, elated that all this pressure, all this, risk that they had goes away when they weld that first part, and it welds the way it's supposed to, and it does exactly, and they put the next part on, it does it again, and they're just like, yes, the vision I had is now in reality, and now we can take this and really go at it. And that's really, my favorite customer is the customers that have the big smile on their face that said, okay, it works, it does exactly what we want, thank you, Cloos, for helping us.
Actually, my first podcast interview was exactly that. It was of Bob Walker of Walker Manufacturing, and they manufacture lawnmower parts. Now, I don't know if he's using a Cloos robot, but he said that was a game changer for his company. They brought in robot welders, and he talked about kind of the fear of the existing welders potentially losing their jobs to robots. But the existing welders were the ones programming the robots and teaching them how to weld. So it just made their lives easier. And then they were able to triple or X their production with these robot welders and existing welders training them. So for me, it's been super cool to kind of hear that story and then hear your story of how you've kind of seen the changes in the industry and positioned Cloos Robot to kind of, again, take advantage of that next industrial revolution in the U.S.
Yeah, and I can definitely understand that guy's concern about the welders. It is a big question in our industry about welding robots stealing welding jobs. It's, and the reality is you don't take a robot and do what the high skilled welders are doing. Those parts are, maybe down the road they would be. Go find the parts that you're making a lot of that are repeatable. Those are the ones you start with. Let the skilled welders do the skill. Let the robot do the stuff that is repeatable. And I think sometimes that's why we like to have this sort of mentorship position, because sometimes people want to go down and they want to do the hardest thing. It's like, no. You don't want to start with the hardest thing. You want to start with the simple stuff. There's nothing kills a robotic sort of installation than it was not the right application, because then the president's, mad because they spent all this money and it didn't work. Welders are like, okay, we told you it didn't work. And, the people that were championing this thing, they swung and missed. And we want to help that group of people that have the ambition and have the vision to change. And we want to be a part of that conversation to make sure you're going to be as successful as possible. Not, don't necessarily need to swing for the fences every time. Swing for a single, because you get 4 singles, you still get a run, that kind of thing. So we want to make sure that people, when they do go down this path, they're going down the right path. And, honestly, if we have to walk away saying, I don't think this is a good fit, and the customer still wants to go down there, I don't want to be the guy that is, we sold you a system that we didn't believe in. So, I'd much rather walk away and say, this is not something we think we could support. If you go down the path, we wish you well, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you're successful. That is our position, is you have to be successful. And if you're not, we will do everything we can to make sure that you are.
Very cool. Very cool. Doug, you seem like a great guy. You ever find yourself up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin area?
Oh, Yeah, definitely. I mean, I haven't been there in a while, but if I ever have to go up to see a customer or go that direction, I'll give you a holler.
Yeah, we can go grab a beer.